You ever notice how Katt Williams went from being the loudest guy in the room to almost invisible overnight? One minute he's everywhere, then boom. It's like he vanished after that one interview on Club Shay Shay. He sat down, stared right into the camera, and started calling people out like he had nothing to lose.
Hollywood's a mafia. It's a big, dark mafia.
Yeah, it is.
And then what happens is, I remember one of them, it was like, the mobsters come, they're like, we understand. Not mobsters like Italian.
Right.
Whatever,
You're talking
whatever
about,
gang you want to
the
call
attorneys,
it, right? And they come along like, listen, you sign this, you do some movies there, we'll put this all on the table, we got enough money to make this go away. Ping, it's gone. No one ever brings it up.
Names you're not supposed to say out loud: Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Diddy, Tyler Perry, Ludacris. No hints, no soft talk, he went straight for it. He even said they pay you to not talk about the things they don't want you to talk about.
No one ever brings it up with this person.
Crazy.
And there's 2 or 3 of them. Huge. But I guess what I'm saying is by the time I started doing Saturday Night Live and Half Baked, blah, blah, and TV thing, Tim Allen, that's when I really saw how dark and so it was dark. I get creeped out. I get scared to death.
Then he doubled down and said, they canceled me when I spoke on Michael Jackson and R. Kelly. And after that, silence from him, but not from everyone else. The industry went wild. Headlines labeled him bitter, jealous, unhinged. Comedians rushed in to protect their image, trying to control the narrative. PR teams were moving fast behind the scenes, and even Shannon Sharpe had to come back and explain why he let Katt speak that freely. But here's the part that really got people thinking. Katt didn't capitalize on the moment. No media tour, no endless interviews, no daily live streams, he just stepped back, and that made things feel even stranger. Now people are whispering, wondering what's really going on, because this isn't just a comedian beefing with others.
I watch him on stage, and everyone's looking, and I'm like, that means that. Don't get mad at him, don't hate him. We go upstairs and have a beer, and sometimes I even appreciate the artistry that they paint their racist opinions with. Man, it's not that serious. The First Amendment is first for a reason. The Second Amendment is just in case the first one doesn't work out.
This is someone who's been arrested, shut out, called crazy, disappeared, and then reappeared again and again over the years, now calmly pointing at something deeper in Hollywood, something tied to careers falling apart and even deaths. So now the question isn't just why he said all that, it's what happened right after, and why it feels like we've seen this exact pattern before, almost like it's scripted, planned, and somehow profitable.
We gotta let some air out of the ball, man. The country's getting a little tight. It doesn't feel like it's ever felt in my lifetime. So tonight, I am honored that my colleagues are here in comedy and in music. We gotta let some air out of the ball, man. The country's getting a little tight. It doesn't feel like it's ever felt in my lifetime.
And if you've been paying attention, this story starts to sound real familiar. Think about another genius comedian who stepped away, disappeared to Africa, then came back different. You already know the name, Dave Chappelle. Long before Katt ever sat down for that interview, Dave was already warning people. Years ago, he stood on stage and said something nobody at his level was supposed to say out loud. He said every black man in the industry gets put in a dress at some point in their career, and to him, that wasn't random at all. He wasn't just joking about outfits, he was calling it a test, a line you're expected to cross. In another set, he even broke down how comedians sneak real truths into jokes, hiding them in plain sight so most people laugh without realizing what was actually said. He said, the country is getting tight, and warned that pressure keeps building unless something gives. To most people, that's just comedy. But to those really watching, it hits completely different. It starts to sound like someone who knows exactly what happens when you say too much, and what comes after. And if it was only Dave saying this, maybe people could brush it off, but it's not just him.
When I was looking at it, Katt Williams, he told a story about how he was supposed to be in, Big Mama House 2, but he turned the role down after Martin was trying to put him in the dress. How you feel about him saying that?
And that's probably true. But again, everything comes down to choices. Like the dress thing is taboo in today's world because the world has woken up, so to speak.
TK Kirkland came out and backed it up, saying Katt was telling the truth about Martin trying to pull him into that whole dress situation. He made it clear this didn't just start with Katt. Way before Katt was even known, comedians were already being pushed to wear dresses on TV. And then somehow the blame gets flipped onto something else entirely. He also said people are starting to wake up now and push back against it. That's not some random online theory. That's coming from someone who actually lived through it and saw how things moved behind the scenes. And then there's Brandon, a younger comedian just trying to get his foot in the door. Katt pulls him to the side and gives him a real warning. Do not wear the dress. Don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the spotlight. But Brandon ignores it, takes the opportunity, puts the dress on anyway.
Did you get like slack when you wore the dress at that moment?
It was like, wasn't slack from people. Only Katt Williams. Katt Williams was trying to always say, Brandon, don't wear a dress. You know,
He called you, or is this?
no, he was saying it in the media, so I thought he was heckling me. He was really trying to help me at the time. I didn't know that. I was immature.
Right.
I feel like, dang, why I'm trying to make it.
And later on, he admits everything in his career felt off after that. Like something shifted, and not in a good way. Different people, different moments, but the same pattern keeps showing up. First comes the opportunity, then comes the dress. And after that, they sit back and watch what you decide to do. Some hear that and brush it off like it's just jokes. Others look at it like a quiet test, something deeper going on behind the scenes. And through all of this, Dave isn't some random voice online. He was the guy, the golden name, the #1 show, the massive deal everybody wanted.
Why you bashing me? And then he was trying to warn me, you know, don't get in the dress. So the awakened Brandon, you couldn't pay him $1 trillion to get in the dress.
Yeah. Was there like, how did they present that? Well, you knew right away you had to get in the dress.
I did the scene on lottery ticket.
Okay.
Then, out of nowhere, he walks away from $50 million and disappears to Africa. When he came back, the media didn't try to understand it. They labeled him crazy for stepping away and not going along with everything. But in later interviews, you can hear it in his tone. He says, this industry is a monster, and talks about how it exploits Black comedians, no matter how big they are. And just when you think it couldn't get any stranger, Jim Breuer steps in and starts talking about something just as unsettling. He breaks it down in a way that feels almost chilling, saying Hollywood knows how to protect its favorites, cover up scandals, and erase stories like they never even happened, as long as those people stay useful and keep doing what they're told.
See, back in the day, I don't think that it was taken too seriously, because let's go way back to Flip Wilson, way before you was born. But Flip Wilson used to have a show called The Flip Wilson Show. And he used to wear a dress every Thursday night. And he used to dress up as Geraldine. And his callback line was, the devil made me do it. It was a big hit. But back then, no one said it was wrong. No one said that he was gay. No confusion.
He even admits he watched things get buried in real time, and it genuinely scared him. Now step back and look at everything together. Dave, TK, Brandon, Jim, all pointing at pieces of the same puzzle. This doesn't feel random anymore. The humiliation, not random. The tests, not random. Who gets protected and who suddenly falls off? That doesn't look random either. If you go along with it, everything stays clean. Your image, your career, your opportunities keep coming. But if you don't, or worse, if you start talking about the test itself, that's when things start shifting in ways people can't easily explain. And that's where it gets uncomfortable, because once you start to believe this kind of playbook exists, where certain pressures and expectations feel very real to the people inside the business, you can't look at what happened to Katt after that Club Shay Shay interview the same way. That wasn't just a viral moment. He sat there and started laying out something that others, like Dave, have been hinting at for years. And every time Dave calls the industry a monster, every time TK or Brandon back up that the dress isn't just a joke, every time Jim talks about scandals vanishing like they were never there, it starts to feel different. That silence, that strange energy, and this new version of Katt people are noticing now. It doesn't feel like coincidence anymore. It starts to look more like step 2 in a process nobody was supposed to catch on to. Once you start seeing the rules they've been hinting at, you can't hear Katt the same way again.
But as we move forward, even when you did Big Mama House, no one looked at Martin and said, yo, why the F you doing this female stuff? Even when you do Tyler Perry, it still was getting a pass. It's just in the last few years to wear a dress has really become taboo and embarrassing. And it's time that it stops, because it's sending out the wrong signal to the world, right?
Because way before that Club Shay Shay interview blew up, he was already telling people how this business moves, right there on stage. He delivers it like a joke, something quick you might laugh off. But if you really listen, it hits like a straight confession. He says in this line of work, nothing is random. Not the scandals, not the sudden downfalls, not even the tragedies people don't like to talk about. According to him, everything is calculated, lined up in advance for maximum profit. He goes even deeper, explaining how normal can get flipped and used as a tool, how innocence can be turned into a cover, and what looks like a harmless private habit. He suggests it can actually be part of a bigger pattern, a quiet initiation, dressed up to look like success, luxury, and opportunity. And he says once you start noticing those patterns, there's no going back. You can't unsee it. And the wild part? He's not the only one talking like this. Dave Chappelle has been pointing at that same hidden structure for years. He just does it with a different kind of calm.
You disappeared for a while. People were saying, where's Dave? Where's Dave Chappelle? Where's he going? And then it turns out you took a trip to Africa. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they said.
Right.
It was
because
like,
the stories, as you know, you're hearing all kinds of stuff on the news.
It was crazy. I went to Africa to chill, and
on one side, you've got Dave on stage, confident, saying he's doing everything the right way. Fearless and ready to call out anyone in his lane who's moving wrong. He's talking about other comedians too, people like Wanda, like Kev, saying some of them will say anything just to get attention, and he makes it clear he sees exactly what's going on and he's not holding back. That's Dave before Africa, the version of him that still sounds like he believes truth alone can cut through everything. But then rewind to what really happened when he pushed back against the system. He walks away from $50 million, just leaves it all behind and disappears to Africa. And when he comes back, the story everybody hears is simple and suspiciously convenient.
I tell you, hear a lot of black people say this, like when you go to Africa, especially your first time, you have this overwhelming feeling like you're home, which is true. I had that feeling like, man, this feels like home. I think I felt that way because there's a McDonald's in the airport, so I got my Big Mac. But then it was like, it just got out of control, like I was in Africa and...
Dave lost his mind. That's what people ran with. They called him crazy for not wanting to play along, for stepping away, for refusing roles he wasn't comfortable with at the peak of his career. Listen closely and you can hear it. The frustration, the confusion in how people reacted when he chose his peace of mind over a massive contract. That alone says a lot. Then Jim Breuer comes in years later and adds another layer, explaining that Hollywood doesn't just reward you with more opportunities after you defy them, walk away, and disappear to another continent. He makes it clear, it doesn't work like that. And he even mentions there were people close to Dave who felt like when he came back, he wasn't the same version they once knew. Then Dave himself starts confirming parts of it. He says the industry gave him a raw deal and straight up calls it a monster that exploits black comedians, even someone at his level. But pay attention to how he moves now. It's careful, calculated. After all that, he does shows where he pushes back hard against the narrative, breaking down how things really operate behind the scenes, how stories get shaped, how truth gets filtered. And then right after, he steps back and gives what feels like a surface-level apology, just enough to cool things down and get attention off him. He even talks about how words can be weaponized, how media narratives twist tragedy and outrage into something else entirely. He's spoken multiple times about the people in charge, and you can tell he doesn't trust the system. But at the same time, he knows exactly when to speak and when to hold back. Now put that right next to Katt's situation. Dave is the version who went through the machine and learned how to move carefully. Katt is the version who said, forget that, and chose not to move quietly at all. In that Club Shay Shay moment, Katt wasn't just telling jokes. He started speaking the same way Dave and Jim do when they think the cameras aren't rolling. Talking about things being planned out, careers being shaped behind the scenes, and certain rooms you don't even get access to unless you've already proven you can stay quiet. And just like what happened with Dave after Africa, the reaction to Katt split instantly. Some fans said, he's finally telling the truth. Others came in fast calling him bitter, jealous, unhinged. Suddenly, all the old headlines came back. Arrests, canceled shows, missed appearances, strange behavior. Everything got pulled out again to define him. It's the same playbook people saw before, but here's where it really separates. Dave adjusted. He came back, called the industry a monster, and then learned how to speak around it. He'll hint at things, he'll circle the message, and if needed, he'll smooth it over just enough to stay in the game. Katt did the opposite.
next thing I start hearing all the stories like comedian Dave Chappelle's in a mental institution in South Africa. And I was like, man, I must be losing my mind.
Yeah.
Because I thought this was the beach. Yeah. So everybody calls me crazy. You know, I mean, it was just...
You're hearing on the news things like he's gone crazy, which that didn't sound right, you know? And
well, you know, maybe I know stuff people don't want me to talk about, so they want other people to believe.
He stepped onto that platform, said everything directly, put names, moments, and details on it, and then stepped away from the spotlight. almost like someone who understands that once you say certain things out loud, the next steps might not be yours to control anymore. So when people say something feels off about this new Katt, it's bigger than one viral interview. They're remembering Dave. They're connecting the same patterns Dave and Jim described, but now Katt is saying it with specifics attached. And that's exactly why this version of him feels so intense. It's not just that he looks different, talks different, or moves different. It's deeper than that. It's the way he's speaking now, like someone who stepped right into the monster's mouth, saw everything inside, and came back out telling the story piece by piece, slowly, carefully, like he already knows how this usually ends. And this is where things start to feel really strange, because you can't fully understand this version of Katt unless you understand the old Dave and the Dave who came back after everything. Dave once joked, "I'm a conspiracy. I watched them." Sounds funny at first, but listen closer. He wasn't just playing around with conspiracy talk. He was describing real pressure, how they tried to box him into wearing a dress, how it was coming from every direction, and how he finally said no. He even says there comes a moment where you have to take a stand. That's not just a punchline. That's someone quietly admitting, "I saw what this place really is, and I'm not going along with it."
So they'll call me crazy. But it was a weird thing to get called crazy. At first it was scary, and then now I feel like it's liberating. Like, I feel free, like I can just say what I want to do. They already call me crazy. I can't hold myself accountable for these things. I'm crazy. I couldn't control myself.
And then in another set, he looks straight at the crowd and says he's doing everything right, that he's fearless, and if he sees anyone around him moving wrong, he's going to call it out. He's talking about people chasing attention no matter the cost, saying anything just to be seen, just to stay relevant, and he makes it clear. He knows exactly why they're doing it, and exactly who's really behind the scenes pulling those strings. Then he takes it even further. He says he speaks the truth like a lion so he can stay true to himself. And when he mentions guys like Kev, he's not guessing. He's saying he sees right through it. When certain comedians say wild stuff, it's not random, it's about getting attention, even if it means sacrificing who they really are. That's the old Dave right there. Fearless, sharp, still inside the system, but pushing against it every time he steps on stage. But then the system pushes back. He walks away from everything. The hit show, the contract, the money, leaves it all behind and goes to Africa. And when he comes back, the label is already waiting for him. Crazy. Simple, clean, easy to repeat. But years later, he starts explaining what that moment really was. Now keep that image in your head. Dave, the one who saw how things work, who refused certain pressures, got labeled, got pushed out, and still came back calling the industry a monster, while learning how to move carefully inside the same system he once walked away from.
You know what I mean? Oh gosh, that's so difficult. They leave. Now the producers come on, David would be so great. I mean, and then I started thinking about it. All the comics that I've seen, man, you know, strong brothers, I was putting us in these dresses. But the minute it was clear, I was adamant, I'm not wearing a dress, I'm not wearing the dress. All right, fine, think of something else. That comes back 10 minutes later, the whole new scene. How did you write the scene so fast? You know, it's like, so you gotta take a sting.
He doesn't go on every platform yelling his message. He doesn't call out every single name. Instead, he gives you just enough truth to see the outline. Then he steps back, keeps it controlled, even throws out a careful apology, and lets everything settle because he already knows what happens when you push too far, too fast. Now put Katt right next to that. Katt doesn't soften anything. He doesn't blur the lines or hide behind metaphors. He lays the whole picture out in the open, reads the fine print out loud, and says exactly what he sees. He talks about the same monster Dave hinted at, the planned downfalls, the protected figures, the unseen influence. But instead of coded language, he brings up real people, real moments, real details. And then he goes quiet. No big press run, no constant interviews, no weekly content, just silence, like someone who just dropped something heavy and already knows the energy around him has changed. Like he understands that once you say certain things out loud, the room is never the same again. So now you're left with two big questions. If the system could push someone like Dave Chappelle into moving more carefully, speaking more controlled, what do you think it's doing to Katt Williams right now? And when you look at Katt today, the calmer tone, the heavier presence, that almost resigned energy, are you just watching a comedian evolve? Or are you looking at someone who's already paid a price the public hasn't fully seen yet? If this got you thinking, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to see it. And drop a comment below. I want to hear your take on all of this.